Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets, where we give you the strategies, the mindsets, and the frameworks to building your own 6 and even 7-figure coaching business. Of course, I am the host with the most, the road dog, with none other than the man, the myth, the doctor of the dolphins, Karl Bryan.
Yo, she's not a doctor. Certainly not a doctor of the Dolphins. The Dolphins would have something to say about that, Shoots.
Dolphin doctor. It's got a nice ring to it, Shoots. I gotta say, it's pretty good. What's
I
going on?
I did see a dolphin yesterday, by the way. I was scooting along on my e-foil. There he was. So hung out with a dolphin for a few minutes, which is always kind of cool, but that's what's going on.
Well, you know what, they say dolphins are not friendly. It was interesting. Last night at curling, we had interesting discussions about all the things in Australia that can kill you, of which there are lots. So there are, oh my God. Why? They're just built different down there. That's all I got to say about that. Because to like spiders and snakes, that to them, that's like us with like flies, you know what I mean? And mosquitoes. It's the same thing. It's crazy.
Buddy, I could tell you stories, buddy. Wombat, snakes. I was going for a jog. I nearly stepped on a snake. And we're not talking about a little one. We're not talking a gardener snake. Right? We're talking big, mean, ugly looking snake. Thank goodness. But anyways.
There you go. Listen, I wanted to kind of pick up into a conversation that we had, and because you had said you want to go a little deeper on luxury branding. I think we covered a couple weeks ago, and you had mentioned you want to go a little bit more in depth. So why don't we turn on the spotlight, folks? KB's about to leave us very impressed, I'm sure.
Talk luxury, Shoots. You had just, had some, reasonable conversations about this one, right? People kind of dropping like it was liked, I think. Just talking about Louis Vuitton, Rolex, Apple, selling luxury items at luxury pricing. The most exciting thing about luxury items is luxury price. No, not the most exciting thing about luxury items is luxury margins, right? So that's what the owner of Louis Vuitton will tell you. You don't want your client to have Toyota marketing in a Ferrari world, right? The biggest brands in the world use the illusion of scarcity as a superpower. So the illusion of scarcity, example, Harvard reject 99% of the people that apply, right? And they're proud of it. They promote it. And it's obviously well known. Again, Ferrari repeating, I've said this many a times, but you're going to pay for the Ferrari and then wait 2 years, right? Rolex do somewhat the same. So Scott Galloway, who's a brilliant guy, he says, show me a high margin product and I'll show you something that 1, makes you feel closer to God. 2, makes you feel like a better parent or makes you a better parent. 3, makes you more attractive to the opposite sex and more impressive to your neighbors, let's say, right? So it signals that you're a superior person. What is that? The high-end Range Rover, the bigger house, the biggest house on the block, the Rolex watch, maybe a tailored suit with your initials in it, sitting in the box at a professional sports game, sitting in the box at a rock concert, and then posting it on Facebook, right? So translation, if you can reinforce your brand equity so that when someone works with you, or they carry your purse, or they drive your car, or they wear your watch, it signals to people around you that you're a superior form of being, a superior form of species, like your cheekbones are higher, right? That you're wealthy, that you're a great storyteller. You're on your way to achieving luxury branding and being able to make those luxury margins, right? Like this is a primary reason you should strongly consider doing a regular local live event, right? What does it do? It positions you as the luxury item, right? Like you're speaking and then people are listening intently. They're laughing at your jokes. They're taking your orders. You say, raise your hand. You say yes. You say, stand up. You say, sit down. They're taking notes as you speak. There's magic in that. And the big takeaway here is that high-end coach, you need to be scarce, right? Not overly available. Like if you set a meeting with Steve Jobs, look, you were waiting 2 weeks to a month minimum to get onto his calendar. And that's totally regardless of what he had going on, right? Always busy, always lots going on, difficult to book with, working on a big and exciting project, moving the needle with local business owners, moving the needle with one of your clients, moving the needle with your clients. I talk about it and kind of how excited you are, like double the energy, triple the sales is one of the things that I've always said. So if you hear this and then you think, but I don't have a big project I'm working on, right? Guess what? We got to fix that, right? So always be authentic. But look, that could be your event. Just, the fact that you're only looking to get 10 people in the room so you can have excellent follow-up. You know what I mean? That's still, that's a big event and that's a monumental thing. And that's big for you. That means it's big for them. And it means it's really interesting to talk about, right? And really importantly, people are more impressed by work ethic than they are success, right? So my question is, do you talk about how hard you're working as you're speaking to prospects, speaking to clients, going to the networking type events, right? Like when I did my local live events, we'd have a schedule available for them to book on the spot, right? Well, half of the appointments in the calendar look chock-a-block, right? Like look full. And a lot of the appointments were like proxies, right? They were all color-coded with real appointments and then filler. And then we say what is the best time for you to book? They'd say Wednesday or Thursday at 9 a.m. They'd be looking at a very busy calendar. And then we say, okay, well, look, we've got something there, but actually we can move that. And what we do is move it. And then we say, well, look, we just moved something for you. And they could see that we were moving it and shoving it onto the calendar. We said, we'll notify the person that the other appointment was with. No big deal. That's an internal meeting. And it reinforced the fact that they should show up, right? So again, I would say, we're just confirming, Tuesday at 11 a.m., you're going to be there, right? And by the way, we didn't say anything untruthful, importantly, right? We just said that we are moving something, and that is exactly what we were doing, right? But by the way, what do most do, right? They have an open calendar. People see an open calendar, and there's nothing there. And my question would be, what does that signal to the prospect, right? When you're available to meet tomorrow, what does that signal? Right. Well, I'll tell you, it signals the Toyota as opposed to the Steve Jobs style Ferrari. So illusion of scarcity, it works for Harvard. It could work for you. I think there's a way to be able to build. You can take on. So most coaches, they'll say, yeah, but I don't really have, I don't have enough clients. I don't really have that scarcity. So it doesn't feel authentic. Well, let me tell you, you can 15 1-to-1, 20 1-to-1 clients, and you're a busy boy or a busy gal, right? Well, if you can only take 20 clients, guess what? You have got scarcity. You don't need to say that 18 of the 20 spots are filled. You just need to say, I can only take on a limited amount of people. You know what I mean? So you need to build in that illusion scarcity in your communication and whatnot. And a local live event is a really great way to make you that luxury item by nature of you're up there. They're taking notes. They're laughing at your jokes. They're standing up. They're sitting down. They're raising their hand. They're asking questions. And really importantly, taking notes as you speak. So anywho, so there you go. Luxury branding, I think something we should all follow, understand, and guide as such.
It's interesting too, right? The fine line between looking busy and being available, right? I think that's just such a fine line for coaches or anyone in business of look, I want to, if somebody's wanting to make a decision, heaven forbid, I push them off. You know what I mean? I can see how that appears to be. But at the same time, I think it's just more of an internal valuation. Would that be a good way to look at it, Karl? I value myself enough to understand that, I'm not going to get every sale, but the people will look at me and go, he's that person is busy. And
Yep. And again, so just, do you want to work with somebody, if you want something done, ask a busy person. It's a reality, right? Because they're getting a lot of stuff done and that's why they're busy. So yeah, no, just illusion of scarcity. Believe me, Harvard could put another 1,000 people without a problem, but they have standards, right? That's part of their brand identity is right there for all of us to see.
Well, now that we're talking about it, though, it's interesting. You mentioned scarcity. We actually had a coach write in, and she said she's losing the quote battle within. Now, we know that where are we now, right? New Year's resolutions are wearing thin already for 99.9% of the people out there. A lot of people would be in that same boat. But what would you say to her, or even anyone that's just like, man, I really feel like I'm losing that inner battle?
If I'm honest, I'd say me too. And Road Dog and all of us, don't worry, don't feel lonely. feel very supported. Now so battle within. I'm going to say great question. What am I going to say? Firstly, you won't get the change in situation without the change in identity, right? So in fact, ironically, I think we talked about that literally last week, and it might've been the week before. So I'm not going to go too deep there, but your identity, the foundation of, winning the battle within, let's call it, is you got to shift the identity, right? And by the way, you're not going to get there by changing your thoughts. That's too surface level, right? You need to change the answers to the questions you ask yourself constantly at a subconscious level, right? So just think, that we've all seen that diagram where the iceberg is sticking out of the water, but then you look underneath the picture that you can see underneath the water. It's just like massive. And then the tip of the iceberg's poking out. Well, the tip of the iceberg is your subconscious mind is below sea level, right? So as a frame, as a mentor, my job is to show you where to look, not what to see, right? So you can do anything, but you can't do everything. You need to define clearly what it is that you want. And as I say that, hard, I know, right? But you're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you're not clear on what it is that you want. And when you're not clear what it is that you want, I don't need to speak to you to know that you're fragmented, right? So said differently, you need to win the battle in the dressing room first, in the locker room first. It's you against you. It's not you against the business owner. It's not you against the prospect. It's certainly not you against the other business coach. It's you against you, right? And who do you got to convince? You got to convince yourself. And, done is better than perfect, as an example, right? Introduce me to a perfectionist, and I'll introduce you to somebody who doesn't get a lot done, right? So the goal is something you can see, and a target is something you can hit. So you got to create targets for yourself, right? A really good idea would read the book, The Art of War. Great book. That's, as good a business book as you're going to read in a lot of ways. But like a $10 million business, introduce me to somebody who built it, and I'll introduce you to an average man with laser-like focus, or a woman with laser-like focus. You adjust your energy. Like, you're a winner. Act as such, right? Like Brady was losing going into the fourth quarter, and we weren't inside his head. We didn't need to be. It didn't phase him in the slightest. And yes, he lost quite, he lost a plenty. He never went into the fourth quarter down by a touchdown or two and didn't feel like he was going to be able to get, be the guy to lead them. Is that you can't transfer that which you don't own. Okay. So if you don't believe in your coaching, believe in yourself, believe in the results, believe in your client, you're not going to be able to transfer that, certainly over a phone call or over a Zoom, and not face-to-face, belly-to-belly, toes-to-toes with your prospect, right? And like emotional control is like silent power, and like opponents know it, right? They never felt safe when Brady was walking out regardless of the score, right? So identify maybe your emotional triggers is what I'm kind of thinking. Preparation isn't fear. It's like wisdom in action, right? So, translation, like prepare to get ghosted. It happens to me. It happens to Road Dog, and it's going to happen to you. My question is, what are you going to do when they ghost you? Are you going to react with that negative self-talk, or what could you do? You just accept it as part of the process. And what do? You make more calls, you go to more events, you send more messages, you have your target, and you bloody hit the thing. You don't do your best, you do what it takes, right? Like every loss in war teaches a counter strategy, right? So get them on the calendar quicker. Like, it's all data, it's all information. There's no such thing as failing. It's just getting a little bit closer to what you should be doing. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to get them on your calendar. Once you start getting people onto your calendar, you want to get them to do it quicker. You want them to book for longer. right? You want to convert prospects into clients. Well, when somebody says no and ghosts you and doesn't, that's data. I needed, the illusion of scarcity, like I talked about a minute ago. Maybe you're not doing that. Maybe you were too available and your language wasn't strong enough and powerful enough and big enough, right? It's like, master your thoughts and actions before you're going to try and master your outcomes, right? Like, think of your emotions as like, this might be a little bit dramatic, but like as weapons of mass destruction, right? Like, use them with intention rather than reaction. Like, if you're getting ghosted, guess what? You're actually reaching out to people and you've got some action. Well, that's a lot better than not having action. So look, let's take the win. And if you don't control your reactions, what are they going to do? They're going to control the direction in which you go, right? Like, think of maybe the battle within. Self-discipline is your first victory, right? Create a target. A goal, again, is something you can see. A target, something you can hit. So what is it going to be? 25 personal reach outs per day, right? So, and maybe said differently, detach from outcomes and attach to your activity, right? Because you can control the reach outs. Like Buddha says, what's the famous quote from Buddha? All suffering comes from attachment, something to that effect, right? Well, if that's true and you believe it, and I certainly do, like, don't attach to things you can't control. You can't control whether or not they respond. Well, you can with some clear and excellent messaging, right? But what you definitely can control is 25 reach outs every day, 10 reach outs before 10, right? 10 conversations before 10. These are things that you can control, right? And by the way, if you're targeting well and messaging well, it's impossible not to create some appointments. And then you keep adjusting on the fly, right? You got to get your rep. They say 10,000 hours is the solution, but it's really 10,000 reps. And then reps with adjustments as you're going along to get slightly better results, right? Like businesses, I don't need to meet the local businesses in your area to know that they want to grow profitably, and they're not, with like 80% predictability, if not greater, right? So learn to pause before you act. Timing. What I mean by that, like, timing beats intensity in every battle, right? Like, maybe an example, like Tim Ferriss used to make calls. Like, you read the 4-Hour Work Week. Most people buy the 4-Hour Work Week, read the cover, read the back cover. Maybe they get through the first chapter, and then they assume the book is about working 4 hours a week, right? Really what it is, a lifestyle book, and it's about 80-20, right? It's really what the book's about. Very clever name, by the way. But like, so in the book, he's got a very somewhat famous story where he was making calls before 9 a.m. and then asked after 4 or 5, right? Why was he doing it then, not during the day? Well, the boss was answering his phone and the gatekeeper had already left, right? So he was at the beach all day and he outsold everybody in his office, and they were working like 4 times as much as him, right? So translation, timing, right? The one thing all the biggest companies have in common, and this is something that is absolute fact and something that I don't think is well recognized or talked about, and it's timing, right? Like at Disney, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, if they started at a different time, it would have been a far less impressive outcome, right? Like, timing beats intensity. And Tim, just if you want an example of that, just think of Tim Ferriss, right? Calling before the gatekeeper got there, and then after the gatekeeper got there. And again, he killed it, right? Shoots, I want to say this, like, not every battle is worth your energy, right? Like, silence can confuse your enemy, and demonstrating influence is more powerful than demonstrating force. And there's going to be nuances of that for sure, right? But like, the smartest warrior wins before the fight begins. Like, the war is won in the tents, not on the battleground, right? You got to secure the highest hill, is a common phraseology. Like, how would you do it as a business coach? Like, you got to create a list of 50 people before you start calling, messaging, doing your thing, right? What do I mean? Like, you're preparing in the tents. Most people will have no list, right? And then they look and then message somebody, and then they look, find a phone number, and then message somebody. They look, find an email address, and then message somebody. Like, they decide, they go to the networking function, and you decide their elevator pitch as they're saying it, right? I'll let you decide. I get a bit of a frame for coaches, but like, the coaches that are winging it, They wing their elevator pitch, they wing their prospecting, they wing their lead generation, they wing what they're going to say, they wing it with their clients, and they just wing it, and they end up with results that reflect the fact that they didn't prepare, right? So just decide what you're going to say in the message before you gather all of the information for 50 business owners and then start typing, right? Like prepare and practice prior to leaving the house, the office, looking unalignable, right? Hopefully that metaphor I'm trying to give there, like the tense is more important than the battleground. And the battleground, a professional athlete, like the game, a professional gets paid to practice. Like the real magic of a Tom Brady and the other sports greats, and not to mention political greats and the Tom Cruises of the world and whatnot, the magic is in their preparation, right? That's where the real magic happens. You don't see them practicing their lines, right? You don't see the rock star practicing in the garage. You just see them on stage in front of, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people and whatnot. And they go, oh my God, that's amazing. Well, again, they want your results, but they don't want to put in the work that you put in. The bottom line preparation, you'd be amazed at how far ahead you could get with just a small amount of preparation before every call, right? So that's the tense. Like I used to teach trade shows. One of my clients, Zoe Fairfax, who's a bit of a legend, helping her with something that she's doing at a pretty impressive trade show that's coming up. And we're just talking about and by the way, she's a very strategic individual and she's got a lot of this dialed in, right? But we're helping her with her messaging. And instead of putting the word the, we put the word our, right? Like our is an inbuilt takeaway. The is something that they can just have, but ours is her. If I say our, it's ours, it's not yours, right? So it's like an inbuilt takeaway. But the bottom line is that creating a pre-trade show plan, an at-trade show plan, and a post-trade show plan, right? Like when the event is over, everyone is going to have like 200 business cards and phone numbers and contact details, and their follow-up's not going to be ready. And guess what they're going to do with ridiculous predictability? They're not going to follow up, and they're going to continue to have those 200 business cards sitting on their desk, right? Why? They didn't have a post-event strategy in advance, done in the tense, right? Zoe's going to have the messaging ready, and she's going to collect, all of this information, and she's going to have her messages ready, and she's going to have her emails ready, and she's going to have the process refined and dialed in, which she does. Anyway, so bottom line, maybe just real quick, Shoots, I want to throw it back, but like a higher level question here. Are your actions consistent with your goals, right? If you want to get strategic and prepared clients, like you want to have a great company, you want to have great clients, right? You don't want to go to all the dum-dums that are scrambling. That's going to be a difficult business to run. No doubt that's obvious, right? So if you are not prepared, you're not going to attract prepared people, right? If you don't make hard decisions quickly, you won't attract people that make hard decisions quickly, right? It's like you just stare. We say, like, if you want to know who your ideal client is, just go stare in the mirror. That's you, right? So the best way you can improve the clients that respond to you and that buy from you and that get coached by you and that stick around for multiple years instead of multiple months is to lift your own game. And that for some of you, that's going to be something you have heard before, you have practiced, and you probably taught. Some that's also going to be new. And that is, if you can't make hard decisions quickly, you will not have other people make hard decisions quickly. It falls into what I said a second ago, where you can't transfer something that you don't own. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to be able to transfer that belief, right? And again, so most coaches, what do they want? They want 20 high-end clients. But I say, how many business owners did you speak to last week? And they say, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm like, sorry, that's just not that level of activity. That level of activity is just not going to get it done. Right. And then, by the way, I can hear somebody saying, I don't know what to say. Right. Well, that's because you haven't taken the actions over the last 90 days that I'm describing. Right. Like good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. Right. So you got to make the calls and watch your judgment wildly improve. What do you say? When do you zip it? Like selling, as an example, is a really good, like when you ask for the order, what do you got to do? You got to shut the hell up. Right. that uncomfortable silence. But unfortunately, that sounds good to the amateur. Let's just go amateur and pros for the sake of the argument. The amateur, that is so hard to do. What do? They want to keep talking, right? And but with experience, as an experienced salesperson, I got to tell you, silence is not a problem for them. Awkward silence doesn't really exist. The awkward silence is just them waiting for data. In some cases, it's going to be a credit card. In other cases, it's going to be the real reason why they're not sure if they should do it. And then that gives you the objection that you need to handle in order to sell them, right? So the bottom line is make the calls and watch your judgment rock. And it just maybe shoots in closing. If you can't control it, don't focus on it. You can control the 25 messages a day. You can't control them buying from you. Okay. So just concentrate on your discipline and your consistency with those 25 messages. Watch your judgment, your talents, your skills go through the roof. And next thing you know, you're going to have a new set of problems where you got too many coaching clients and you can't keep up. And that's probably a good problem to have, but a little bit long-winded, Shoots, but the battle within, that's what I'd say, Shoots. That's what I'd say.
Well, there you go, buds. I love the fact that you're talking about being awkward. That's never been a problem for you. I've known you being awkward, just natural, Shoots. So there you go. Real quick though, you're talking about tracking, measuring, doing all that stuff. You have been tracking your sleep, if I'm not mistaken, and I just want to know what, because and again, like folks, if you don't know Karl, he'll relate. Oh, I saw a bird sitting on a fence. Let me tell you what I learned from that for coaches. So speaking of being awkward, what have you learned from your sleep tracking, Shoots, in regards to coaching and their clients?
Sleeping does not come naturally to me. It's not that it doesn't come naturally to. Actually, that's not. I can sleeping, deep sleep for long periods of time does not come naturally. I can snooze. I could be in an airport and fall asleep on the chair, but like good sleep. So that's I've talked about it a few times, right? But I get an Oura ring. I got to tell you, a game changer. Track sleep, steps, activity throughout the day, hours that you're stressed, hours that you're super calm and in like a restored state, etc. I don't know, shoot, so much I could say. Like sleep is probably the greatest investment you can make in your life, right? Better than real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, business, etc. Like Warren Buffett wouldn't be Warren Buffett if he didn't live to be 95, right? And still going, like compounding for an extra 30 years. And, the magic of compounding, because we talked about it endlessly. But the problem, I think, sleep for me at least, and some people are just totally natural at that, right? But I dare say an entrepreneur, A-type, highly driven, highly ambitious, sleep takes work and planning. It's like building a business, building a marketing plan, building a, really cool funnel. Energy is insanely important for an entrepreneur at any level, and sleep gives you energy, but sleep also could take it away, right? So help your clients do this as part of your work is something that I'd guide you. Like if you don't sleep and rest, you got to see it as an investment, right? Like quality sleep gives you more testosterone. It will lead to better decisions, clearer thought, a calmer mind, less anxiety, less stress, faster recovery, less aging. Like poor sleep, on the other hand, it's bad decisions and probably low testosterone. Testosterone, is that what I'm trying to say, Shoots? Anxiety, stress, weight gain for sure. It accelerates the effects of anti-aging, right? So if you'll struggle to get rich if you sleep like the poor. That might be a good thing to say, right? Like poor sleep long hours and the rich sleep efficiently in less time. Like 5 hours of great sleep will outperform 9 hours of light sleep, right? So you got to work on sleeping efficiently. And that's, again, my Oura ring, what I'm trying to do, because it tracks not only sleeping hours, but the depth of your sleep, let's just call it, right? Like if you sleep, but let's go like Shoots. If somebody sleeps 9 hours and then I sleep 5 hours efficiently, I have an extra 4 hours to perform and I effectively get more real sleep than you, right? Like sleep is 33% of your life. If you do it right, you can create an extra day per week of awake time, right? Where you could be working or you could be hanging out with your family or you could be chilling out or you could be meditating. And that would be like 52 days a year, right? Like over a decade. I don't know what that's going to work out to be, but it's like months of extra life from the same years you've got on planet Earth, right? So like, don't sleep when you're tired, sleep on your schedule like that. And by the way, this is important. Like, bad sleep is in the heat, and elite sleep is in the cold, right? Cold sleep is actually an anti-aging hack. So rather than pay for Botox, as an example, get yourself a silent air conditioner, right? And what do most people do? Like, they go to things like melatonin, like it works for, 2 weeks, a month. And now you got a new addiction, or more to the point, maybe I don't know if you can get addicted to it, but like, something else you got to rely on, right? Just build your sleep schedule, same time, same light, same room, same everything, same morning protocol, right? And hopefully it's obvious. Like, don't, before you go to sleep, the horror film is a bad idea. The action movie, bad idea. Staring at blue light, bad idea, right? So have a plan as part of that schedule. And by the way, also don't drink water 90 minutes before you go to bed. Or guess what? Don't get surprised when you need to wake up in the middle of the night and go for a pee, right? That is horrific for deep sleep. And that's the opposite of sleeping efficiently. And also, don't eat before bed. Let's call it 2 hours before you go to bed. I don't know about that exact timing, but 2 hours is what I think it is. Why? Because your body is going to be digesting food when it should just be chilling out and resting. Okay. Again, it's not going to allow you to get the REM sleep and the deep sleep that you really need. Like, no screens, no hard decisions. You got to try and stay away from a little bit of, work, say again, let's call it a couple hours before bed. If you have a hot bath or a hot shower, 20 minutes before you go to bed, that has, proven to be a good idea. But even like as opposed to, I need the TV to go to sleep, right? That's what some people will say. Well, read something like Stoicism, like calming Stoic quotes, right? Or, breathing exercises, get your heart rate down before you go to sleep. 100% fact that will help. Total, should you have lights on? No, you should have total darkness. And by the way, so let's assume that that's a bit of a routine for you. Your brain and body is going to know, look, it's time to go to sleep. You got to get your circadian rhythm tuned into your schedule, which, by the way, as that might be hard for you. Guess what? It's hard, but being tired and lacking energy and whatnot, that's bloody tiring too. And don't wake up to an alarm, by the way. That's like interrupting your sleep cycle. You got to get your schedule in such a way that you wake up naturally. Like, turning off your phone during an update, as an example, that would be a bad idea. Well, waking yourself up when you're not ready to wake up, that would be a silly thing to do. But shoots, I don't know. Like, I've been tracking it. I'm not the expert here by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something that I've poured over and spent a lot of time thinking about and trying to just improve my own ability to, get deep sleep. But, if you sleep poorly, you're living poorly, I'd say, right? The difference isn't quantity, though. It kind of is, right? But it's quality over quantity, right? And the system that you're using, you're drinking water before you go to bed, I got bad news. You're eating before you go to bed, I got bad news, right? And okay, Shoots, I would just say the average optimized for expenses. Okay, so let's say car and house. Bad idea. Okay. The elite optimized for time and energy. Sleep is critical for your time and energy. And maybe even, again, I didn't even say, like, drop 20 pounds of fat and add 5 pounds of muscle and watch what happens to your sleep. Like, I'm going to the gym pretty hard for a year. And I got to tell you, without question, it's helped. So, like, I don't know what I'm saying here. She's like, health and longevity. Maybe don't be looking at the next biohacking secret. It's about doing the basics consistently, like going to the gym consistently. Like, going to the gym consistently is about going to the gym on the days when you don't want to. Right? Anybody can go to the gym on the days when you want to. The trick is to do it when you don't want to. Well, your sleep schedule, there's going to be nights when you want to watch the movie, you want to watch the show, you want to stay up a little bit later. Well, if you had a system and you didn't want to have to get woken up by that alarm and whatnot, that might be a good idea. Anyway, Shoots, it's been a worthy exercise, and I'm in the learning process here, but it's been enjoyable. What do you think?
Yeah, no, all good. I actually I got another question here from a coach that wrote in, and they're asking about building a personal brand and they're struggling. Like it's just, they're saying this does not come naturally. So on behalf of everyone, I'll ask the obvious. Okay. Why is building a personal brand so hard for coaches, and why is it just not working?
Yeah. I hear you, man. I remember when I did a lot of public speaking, doing like my bio. It was just something that I'd prefer to skip over, which by the way, but it's an pretty important thing, from authority, and I won't bother you with that. Right. But I hear you. I don't know, consider building, this might help, right? Like consider building your personal brand on hard work, right? I'm going to assume that you're a hard worker, right? And you really want to have impact on local business owners and really move the needle for the entrepreneurs in this world. But I will tell you, people admire hard work more than they do success. All right. Hormozy, like he released a book. This is a while back. This wasn't the latest one, but I can't remember how he did it, but he said something to the effect of, I wrote 2,000 pages, spent 1,000 hours on this book, 500, I don't know what, 500,000 words, blah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The whole thing was rooted in how hard he worked putting together the book. Right. And sure he did, by the way, like no doubt. Right. And then his wife, I've said this a lot of times, but his wife wished him happy birthday. And she said, happy birthday, something like happy birthday to the hardest working man I've ever met. Right. I just don't believe that's by accident. That's his brand. If you think of Alex Hormozy and you're thinking of somebody who really, really works hard, and it's, in my opinion, from what I can see from the outside looking in, it's intentional, right? And apparently it's working, right? So when you speak to your clients and when you speak on stage and you're, connecting with people, when you talk about business, root it all in how hard you've worked to get to this point. And again, assuming that's true, right? But very few successes come off the back of someone who didn't slave night and day and managed brutal situations, which I have no doubt. If you're a business, if you're a coach and you've dedicated your life to helping other people, again, you've got a story that's brought you to this point, and it involves some pain and suffering, right? And I'd also say maybe the reason why it might be a little bit harder for a coach is I think by nature we're givers and not takers, right? So for that individual talking about themselves, writing about themselves, like the narcissist in the room, right? I got no issue here, right? But it can be difficult when you're, of that ilk, right? So solution, calendarize it and don't think about it. For 30 days, make a social media post delivering value, right? And because at the end of the day, a great way to build a personal brand is to do it online, right? And what are you going to say for 30 days? And a frame here, trust is built in moments, not in your bio. Okay. Trust is built in moments, not in your bio. A lot of business coaches, they spend hours and hours poring over what they're going to say in their bio. And I've got bad news. Okay. It's not that nobody cares, but kind of nobody cares, right? Your wife and kids are super impressed and nobody else is even seeing it, let alone, reading it or searching for it. Right. So what would you post online? There's so much you could do, right? At the end of the day, though, it's got to come from a place of value, right? But like a short story from your own journey, right? Be honest, be authentic, obviously. And don't air your dirty laundry, which is just insane, like insane. I want you to capitalize that, bold it, underline it, right? Like insane. But, talk about the struggle and how the steps you took to help you overcome, got you to this point. And it's been wonderful and it's been amazing. And that you're grateful for those difficult times and the divorce and the death and the issue, the health issue that you had. Right. Like I write about building an 8-figure coaching business. Right. So a second thing you could do, like a nugget, you went over with a prospect, a client, a friend today. Right. Because again, you're having these conversations with your wife, with your kids, with your friends, with your prospects, with your clients. If it's unlocked something for them, it'll unlock something for the people on your feet. Right. So one of the things I talk about is like curiosity. Like there's 2 things you need to have if you want to get coaching clients. You got to get curiosity and conviction. Curiosity gets me the appointment and then conviction gets the sale. Right. And then as you hear that, guess what? That might not come overly natural to you. Well, guess what? For the next 90 days, you got to do it Again, not 10,000 hours, but 10,000 reps with improvements along the way. And you're going to improve like 1% a day, every day for 365 days. You're totally dangerous at the end of the year, right? Something else I always talk about standing against. In fact, we kind of went somewhat in depth with that on a podcast probably a while ago now, a year ago, 6 months ago. But things like, what's a belief that your industry blindly accepts? What's a belief that small business owners blindly accept, right? Like, so one of the things I've said for years is like the coaching industry says your client already knows what they need to know. You just need to draw it out of them, right? I say you motivate an idiot, they do stupid things quicker, right? If they knew what they needed to do, they probably would have been doing it at a slightly higher level. And the statistics wouldn't say that 90% of businesses fail, right? The truth is they have no idea. And their idea of a good idea is to lower their prices and add products and services, right? But then you look at Apple, debatably one of the most successful companies of all time, right? The most cash flush business of all time, right? Well, what do? They only have high pricing and they have very few products and services. So that means that the average business owner, when left to their own instincts, it drives them to go in the exact opposite direction of one of the most successful businesses of all time, named Apple, right? Good idea, bad idea. No. So your client already knows what they need to know. So you got to draw it out of them. I think that's nuts, right? You motivate an idiot, they do stupid things quicker. Your clients are running in the wrong direction enthusiastically, right? Not a good idea. You got to stop them, right? Another thing you do, like say the quiet part out loud, right? Like a mistake that your clients are making. Like I used to run a webinar, is a long time ago, but it was like the 10 biggest mistake coaches make when generating leads online, right? This is more in my traditional internet marketing days. So without bothering you with what it was, and it was some time ago, number one was spending all their time with other coaches online, right? So they joined peer groups and groups on Facebook and groups on LinkedIn filled with other coaches, right? You got to spend 80% of the time talking, like they're spending 80% of the time talking to the wrong audience that aren't going to buy from them. You got to spend 80% of your time in groups with small business owners that could potentially buy from you. And that's not to say you should spend no time with your peers. Like certainly that's a good idea, but that should be 20%, not the 80%. And I would dare say that those numbers are flipped. So you got to, that's an example of, a mistake that I saw time and time again. So I just kind of said, what I said, the quiet part out loud, let's put it that way. If you could take something complex, and make it simple, right? Like I explained that there's a ton that goes into building a coaching business, but what we do and what we should concentrate on is only 3 problems. What are they? Leads, conversion, fulfillment. And guess what we do at focus.com? We solve 3 problems. We help you generate leads. We help you convert them into high-end coaching clients. And then we help you fulfill on your coaching with ease by installing the operating system with small incremental improvements in multiple areas simultaneously. So you get that compounding effect. And we call that profit acceleration, right? But at the end of the day, building a profitable business can be really, really difficult. And we've dummied it down in such a way that it's literally an operating system that can be installed. And it's just a simple 12 areas. And again, all built, no magic, right? It's built on the fundamentals that McDonald's and Walmart and the biggest companies in the world have out there, right? So anyway, taking, I don't know, can you take something complex, make it simple? Well, that's what you'd be posting on Facebook and building your brand. But remember, people are going to remember the moments when they read something and went, oh my gosh. Remember, when I'm selling something, what traditional selling will say is get them to say yes, 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 right? And then when I say, hey, do you want to buy from me? The chances of you saying yes are significantly greater, right? Well, that's not what I would do. What I want to do is I want them to say, wow, I've never heard it explained like that before. That's the reaction that I'm looking for. That's the person they get, level of curiosity goes up. That's not the best example of curiosity I could give you, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, that brings curiosity And then on the back of it comes conviction. And that's how I, would get someone to buy something. But at the end of the day, I'm not looking for yeses. I'm looking for them to have aha moments. When they read your social media profile, they have these moments where they go, oh, wow, right? Really impact. And that will build your personal brand is kind of what I'm trying to say. Actually, so a great question. No. Let me finish this thought first. I'm going to come back to that. Like, what did somebody ask you this week? Right. So you could say, somebody, should I run Facebook ads? Right. I asked how many one-to-one clients can you handle? Right. And they said, let's use a coach as an example. Right. What are they going to say? They're going to say, okay, 15 one-to-one clients. Say, okay, well, how many clients did you get from one joint venture partner? They say, got 2, right? How many referrals have you got? They say, about 10 referrals and 3 of them are clients, right? And how much did that cost you? They're going to say nothing. Last, how much do you think it's going to cost, to run a Facebook ad campaign, to set it up and to run it and to maintain it, right? Well, if they had all kinds of Facebook experience, my answer would go in a different direction. But the 2 points of coaching are, where are you and where do you want to go, right? We got to establish a starting line and a finishing line, right? Little red arrow, you are here, and then the destination. Just think of starting line and the finishing line as the frame. Look, the bottom line, you don't need to go viral. You need to get good content out there consistently. The client that I'm talking about a minute ago, so they can only handle 15 one-to-one clients is what they want. They've already got 5 clients from referrals and word of mouth. Why would they take the time to turn on global, Facebook ads that are very it's complicated, and it's costly without doubt, right? Why do that when you only need to get another 10 clients, right? It's just not necessary. You just got to get another referral, another joint venture partner, because if you get 2 clients and you want to get 20, all you got to do is the exact same thing you did to get 2 times 10, and you're going to end up with 20. But it comes back to that activity that I was talking about a minute ago, right? So it can be done. But look, the personal branding, I totally get it. You're a giver and not a taker, so it's difficult to get out there and talk about yourself. And again, the narcissist, I know they kind of drive you nuts, and you see them and you follow them, etc. And not calling everybody out there narcissists by any stretch that are doing a good job online, because that would be untrue. But at the end of the day, some people are just a lot more comfortable doing it than others. But you need a plan. You got to follow through, and it'll come. And remember this, the lurkers are the ones that buy from you. The ones that like and comment and share and that sort of thing, as a general rule, they won't be as good of buyers as the lurkers that all of a sudden pop up one day, get on your calendar. They buy at a ridiculous speed. So when you do your post and you've only got 10 likes and you only have 3 comments, don't stop, because the lurkers are the ones, and again, they're the ones you don't like and don't share and don't put hearts on it. So you know what I mean? Those lurkers, that's the really good news, right? And just, maybe what you got to do, I said this in an email not long ago, live your own life out loud. And the goal of nothing more and nothing less than inspire others to do the same. Right. And always remember, you don't need hundreds and hundreds of leads. You need a powerful demonstration. Right. Reminds me of P.T. Barnum. Right. He says, this isn't business. This is show business. Right. So what can you show people? How can you show people what you do versus tell people what you do? Right. Again, this isn't business. This is show business. And, he's trying to get people to the circus. Right. And that's social media. That is live events. That is webinars, that's lunch and learns, that's videos, that's Facebook, that's YouTube, that's TikTok, that's your own podcast, your own field trips, your own parties, having a party on Friday night with business owners. To someone, that sounds like a horrible idea. And somebody else, they go, oh my gosh, that's the greatest idea ever. It works unbelievably well in the MLM world, and it could work for you in the business coaching world. But the bottom line, you got to get people to the circus, is what P.T. Barnum would say. And think activation points. Your reputation is made in those moments, right? It's not the impressive bio. And again, you'll be very disappointed to know how many people are reading your bio, right? It's made in those aha moments. Wow, I've never heard it explained like that before. And maybe Shoots, I want to throw this back, but worth mentioning, being fun in your language and actions. I believe that will open more doors that determination just will not, right? Focus.com, I hear it all the time. I feel like I found my people, right? It's a fun environment. Create space like that for your prospects, your clients, your local business owners, right? So funny equals money is a popular saying. And by the way, that doesn't mean don't try to become a stand-up comic. If you're not like, you know what I mean, super funny person, don't all of a sudden try and put yourself out there as a super funny person, because it won't be authentic and it won't work, right? But that said, you know what I mean? Pull that fun out of you and let people see it. And I think that you're going to find that's going to attract some good people. So anyway, Shoots, I know it's a bit of a battle building a personal brand, but the way you do it is just like lots of what I said here. You just got to get the bloody work and get a little bit better, 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 a little bit better. And if you don't quit, which most do, in 365 days, you could be dangerous. So that's my answer.
The only thing harder than that, Shoots, is trying to keep this podcast under 90 minutes.
There it is.
So there is one point I want to make, and then the people have spoken. So, but first off, I got to say, so you mentioned 30 days posting content, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, folks, if you're not using AI, I don't care if you're using Chat or Claude or Gemini or whatever it is, use it. Don't just use it for business. Use it for personal. Allow it to get to know. Yes, one day you will regret the robots knowing everything about you. In the interim, you're going to allow all of those responses to be more personalized to who you are. Why not work with your AI and have it actually personalize your social content for 30 days based on your personality, based on everything it knows about you? Like, there has never been an easier time in history to produce high level content, full stop. Like, that's it. So, and that's where I think most people fail, is they only go there for business. They do not allow their AI to get to know their personality, their traits, the words that they use, the passions that they have, the vulnerabilities that they have. And why not use all of that to truly captivate your audience?
Yeah. So 100, well said, Shoots. You said that really well. Like, you got to allow, whatever you Chat GPT or Grok, whatever you're using, Gemini, like, you got to allow it to get to know you. And the better it gets to know you, and it will get to know you very, very well, the better it's all going to, the better the content it's going to spit out within for you. And if you say, Shoots, but one of the things, like getting AI, like my daily email, like I could say maybe I leverage AI, but I got to tell you, I have, like one thing AI is not is funny. Try get it to tell you a joke or write you a joke. I'm going to warn you, you're wasting your time. It's terrible. But that said, is one of the things, like, you also, you know what I mean? Because one of the look, my daily email, it's me talking to myself to a ridiculously high degree, right? Like, I'm, who learns more? That we get over 100,000 people to get that every single day. I learn more than the entire group collectively, because I'm there typing and tooting around. So absolutely use AI. Road Dog knows that. I know that. Everybody's going to tell you that. But at the same time, if you know what I mean, you get yourself, if you use what happens when you start using a calculator over and over and over again, all of a sudden your math skills go, right? Remember when you were a kid, you could memorize phone numbers like nobody's business, but today you can't, right? Why? Because they're all in your phone, and now it's, hitting my wife, my wife's name's Tammy, and I just hit Tammy, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So for your own learning, though, let's make sure the goal is to become dangerous, in your talents, skills, discernment, judgment, etc. as a business coach. So make sure you're not just outsource. You know what I mean? Be careful with the outsourcing of everything. But you definitely do what Road Dog's talking about and leverage it to get some of this stuff out. So you got to be able to pump out 10 times as much stuff, right? But make sure you got your own fingertips all over it, in my opinion.
All right. On that note, The people have spoken. The one thing AI will never replace, one thing that will never be outsourced. Karl Bryan's daily.
Oh.
So sheets, send it up, man.
Yeah, I know. I've been talking so much, buddy. What am I going to say? I thought we were going to be ended. So I'd say, if you can't control it, don't focus on it. I think that's what I said a minute ago, like a little bit ago here. Like wake up every day, go to work. Some days are going to be more impressive than others, but at the end of the day, it's not about doing your best. It's about doing what it takes. You got a meaningful, purposeful work. Don't do this for you. Don't do it for your bank balance. Do it for your family. But I think you'll do more for others than you do for yourself. That's where I'm trying to go here. Business owners are struggling. 90% fall over. Yes, they have AI just like you, me, and Road Dog do. And guess what? It's just, I could go on with that. It's like online dating. It's just made dating worse, right? So it's not helping them to the degree that it should. And yes, it's going to it's helping some for sure. But it's also confusing the hell out of others, like online dating. So, like for me, it's like I get up, like it's always been hard for me to take holidays, right? And why? Work ethic, you know what I mean? Like, again, it's not just work ethic. I enjoy what I do very sincerely, very genuinely, right? But like, reminds me of Michael Phelps, the swimmer, right? He says, if he took a day off, it took him 2 days to catch back up, right? So he says something to the effect that like, it's the price that he had to pay to be elite, right? Like progress is slow and complacency moves fast, right? Like entropy is undefeated. So when the guy that hits the gym misses a day, what happens more often than not is it becomes 3 days off and a week off accidentally and for very good reasons, but it's like a fumble in football. My dad always said there's a million reasons to fumble a football, but none of them are good enough, right? So, you just got to make sure you keep pounding, right? Like that skip day becomes a lack of discipline. A lack of discipline is going to destroy your momentum. And momentum, by the way, is the entire game that you're playing. If you didn't notice, momentum, Road Dog finishes every podcast, progress equals happiness. And that's absolutely fact. So, a little bit of pressure applied daily. It's going to keep you elite. It's going to keep you making impact. Some people are going to pay you. Some people are not. Remember, your marketing should always impact 10 to 100 times as many people as your client list does, right? So the people who are paying you is only going to be a small percentage of the impact that you're making if you're doing it right, right? So keep that pressure on. Use your schedule as, something that can, keep you dialed in and, make sure you're staying on track with your activities. And by the way, consistency is also undefeated, right? Small incremental changes in multiple areas give you compounding results, right? So you want to be elite like Michael Phelps. I think that's what you should be thinking about. Anyway, Shoots, that's all I got, bud. That's all I got. Hope that helps.
No, excellent work, Shoots. Excellent work. Way to keep that one tight. So there you go. Listen, folks, thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to get your Karl's daily emails, or you just want to, more information on how to build, grow, and scale your coaching company, visit focused.com and subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe and also share with a fellow coach, as again, we're trying to make our impact on as many coaches as possible. While you're at it, please feel free to leave us a review. That is it, folks, for another week. We will see you in the next episode. Remember, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.